All right, back to our headline news for this week. Let's cross to our reporter Lukhanyo Galata, who's at the National Policy Conference in Nasrec in southern Johannesburg. A very good afternoon to you, Lukhanyo. Do give us the latest of some of the outcomes that have come out on day 4 of course, the policy conference. We've just seen Minister Nathi Mthethwa also chairing a briefing there. Briefly take us through what transpired there.
Alicia, thank you very much. And yes, and welcome back to Nasrec, where we continue with our live broadcasts of the ANC's National Policy Conference here. We also now conclude what has been a mini-series, if you like, of us discussing with each and every province, or at least the chairperson of every province that is here at the National Policy Conference. And we now conclude that series with our discussion with the chairperson of the ANC in the province of the Northern Cape, Zamani Saul, who joins us now. Sir, thank you for joining us, and a good afternoon.
No, thank you very much, and good afternoon to the viewers.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's start, I think, at the Northern Cape's expectations from this policy conference.
Now, our expectations for the policy conference are twofold. Number one, we hope that this conference will lay a formidable foundation for a good national conference in December. We firmly believe that the exchange of views, which is a very robust exchange of views which is taking place here, will be able to bring us closer to each other in terms of the direction that we want to take the country to. We've got one primary responsibility as the African National Congress, is to come up with a mega plan about the kind of country that we want to build, and this policy conference provides the basis for that. Our second expectation is that the focus of the policy conference won't be more on policy matters, but it should be more about radical implementation of policies that the ANC took in the past. If you look at the policy decisions that we took when we went to Bloemfontein in Mangaung with the 53rd National Conference, we took radical decisions there. And we've not been able to implement all those radical decisions. And we hope that this policy conference will actually focus on strengthening the capacity of the state to ensure that there is radical implementation of decisions that the ANC takes in its policy conferences.
All right, thank you very much for that. One of the key things, I suppose, that will form the basis of your discussions, we've heard from other provinces, has been the diagnostic report that was tabled by the Secretary General.
Yes.
It was a report that was quite scathing on the current state and the current health of the ANC.
No, as the African National Congress, we'll have to tell truth to ourselves. So we're a self-correcting organization. The diagnostic report, its primary focus was actually to present the state of the organization to conference. And it did that in a very robust, in a very rigorous, in a very honest manner. And as the province of the Northern Cape, we welcomed the report. And we firmly believe that the report constitutes the basis of all the engagements. I've been in a number of commissions. In actual fact, the point of departures for points which have been made and the views which have been expressed is the diagnostic report. It actually assisted to shape and direct the discussions which are taking place inside the commissions.
One of the things that the diagnostic report said was that at the moment there is a decline in the values in the branches.
Yes.
There's a decline in the ethics.
No.
There's a decline in the traditions. It spoke of a decline, for instance, in the ideological outlook of the branches and of the party. How does the Northern Cape contribute in this policy conference to try to rectify some of the issues that were mentioned by the diagnostic report?
Yes, I think your summary of the diagnostic report is 100% correct. And this is one of the issues which we've been consistently raising. That right across the board in the broader alliance movement, not only in the African National Congress, there is degeneration that is taking place. And one of those degeneration is ideological degeneration, which reflects on the quality of members that the ANC have. This ideological degeneration makes people to lose confidence in the ANC because we send confusing signals, we send confusing policy positions about what the ANC stands for and where we want to take this country for. And this policy conference is actually committed to address and tackle one of those issues. But the issue which we're asking about, what is it that as the Northern Cape will be doing, actually will get reference point from this policy conference. But there's a whole lot of programs that we've already introduced. The issue of ensuring that we develop the qualitative nature of the membership of the ANC, not only allowing people to move in and not subject them to certain political programs, to certain programs where they get actively involved with communities, so that we can have an integrated cadre within the ranks of the movement that will be able to understand the policy posture, that will be able to understand the history of the organization, and that would also be able to understand the direction that we are taking the country to.
All right. And then let's talk a little bit specifically about the challenges that this policy conference must attend to for the people of the Northern Cape. What are some of the specific challenges in your province that this conference must at least try to address?
There are specific challenges with regard to Northern Cape. Number one, we are a mining economy and also an agricultural economy. We want to ensure that we strengthen the intervention by the state with regard to beneficiation of minerals. That's one of the issues that we've raised very strongly during commissions, that it can't be that the Northern Cape and South Africa becomes an extraction point, but rather we should beneficiate a certain percentage of the mineral resources which are actually mined in our province. On the issue of agriculture, we are looking at agro-processing, that we should not, as the province, just export raw agricultural products. Those products should actually be processed in the province, because when you don't embark on agro-processing and processing some of the raw products that comes from the agricultural sector, we are shipping out jobs out of the province. Currently, as we speak, the Northern Cape has got the highest level of unemployment compared to any other province in the country. So mining and agriculture are the two strongest points that we have as the Northern Cape, and we'll have to look at ways on how do we strengthen that and how do we ensure that there is beneficiation of a certain percentage of what is produced by the province, and ensure that we strengthen agro-processing so that we can be able to create jobs in the province.
Talking about mining, what is the Northern Cape stance then on the recent mining charter that was tabled by Mosebenzi Zwane, the Minister for Minerals in the country?
No, as the province, we've not really discussed the issue, but I can't see the province being against a charter that increases black ownership. So we won't necessarily be against such a charter, which is very progressive, which actually wants to see that there is black ownership is increased in terms of the mining industry in this country.
All right. One of the things that you've also mentioned was the radical implementation of the ANC, and you guys want to insist that that must become an issue. What we've heard over this past couple of days, or at least what we've known, is that the ANC's never really had a problem with policies. It's always has been the implementation. Yes. How do you then make sure that implementation becomes is on top of the agenda when ANC members or when the ANC concludes this conference?
At some point, the issue of creation of a developmental state should end being rhetoric within the ranks of the African National Congress. What we should be focusing on is to ensure that there is construction and reconstruction of a capable developmental state. If we've got a developmental state that intervenes in the economy, you've got a developmental state that can marshal resources and ensure mega infrastructure programs to ensure that people get much better conditions of living. So that is basically our focus. Radical implementation of policy decisions would rely mainly on the quality of the state that we have. So that is what is the argument that we are raising, that we need a capable developmental state with capacity to ensure that there is radical implementation of decisions that we took. For an example, in Mangaung, we took a decision of establishing a state pharmaceutical company. There's no state pharmaceutical company. 4 or 5 years down the line, we agreed on a state mining company. It's still on a pipeline. And we've agreed on a whole lot of issues. So what we need is to develop the capacity of the state to be able to implement the radical policy decisions that we take. At the end of the day, these policy decisions end up being empty rhetoric if you don't have a state with adequate capacity to ensure that there is implementation. All
right. Look, our time is running out, but I do have one more question, and that is how are things now in the Northern Cape? We know that the province had a conference in May.
Yeah.
it was marred by all kinds of controversies, leadership and all of those things.
Yes.
Have things settled down? Where is the ANC in the province at this moment?
There was serious contestation of leadership towards our provincial conference. Things have settled down and we are moving forward. We are strengthening the ANC structures in the province, and it's an ongoing work, and we think by now we are in a much better position than we were about 2 months back.
All right, Mr. Zamani Saul, thank you very much for joining us. We really do appreciate. That was Zamani Saul, who is the chairperson of the ANC in the Northern Cape. Alicia, we hope to bring you more a little bit later from Nasrec, but for the time being, it's over to you in studio.
Thank you so much to our reporter at the Nasrec Expo Center in the south of Johannesburg. And it is, of course, the deliberations from the 5th National Policy Conference for the ruling party, the ANC. We will be crossing in and out and taking the very important debates there around some of the key policies that govern the country. Pearl's got your sports news after this.